you only live twice, Mr. Bond.
What the hell is this organisation, Bond? How can they be everywhere and we know nothing about them?
This organization does not tolerate failure.
But you see,
Go!
Right, this is our review of Casino Royale, the 21st Eon James Bond film. We did the drinking game. I won't explain the rules, but the rules will be down below, but it's kind of what you expect from a drinking game. Hey! How many was it?
Well, it was 94 drinks.
Very light.
Well, the drinking game is predicated on hitting the Bond cliches, isn't it? You drink when you get a big Bond cliche like a gadget, Moneypenny, helicopter explosion underwater, shag somebody, and this is a stripped back. It's the rebirth of the. I'm so drunk.
Not enough to stop.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Very good.
It is very good. I distinctly remember almost every sequence and how I felt watching this in the cinema. It was a game changer.
And there was always this contingent of Bond fans who were Ian Fleming novel fans who really wanted the Bond of the films to more closely reflect the Bond of the books. And then when this came out, I distinctly remember there was a big push of, you know, this is as close as it's ever been to the Bond of the book, i.e. a fucking psychopath. Casino Royale is the first novel by Ian Fleming from, what was it, about 1953 or something. It had already been made into a film in the late 60s, which we watched to our own detriment. It was the first adaptation of Bond because it was the American Climax episode, which we watched. So this is the third time you're getting a screen adaptation of Casino Royale, the first novel, and so that's again a real statement of intent. Let's take the character back to source, but let's also incorporate some modern sensibilities, and as we've said in previous videos, it's a Bond film that exists in a kind of post-Bourne identity age where all of a sudden you had another series of films who were doing something similar-ish and doing it with so much more verve, particularly visual panache, and you can see that, you know, when it came out, you know, so it's a sort of the Bourne Bond.
We're recording this just after
about a week after the announcement
that Amazon have completely bought out the broccolis.
But it does feel like it's gone and something culturally relatively momentous is done. Bond becomes a 00. He has his license to kill. He is sent by MI6 into a card game with the aim of winning the card game and beating a man called Le Chiffre, who is basically a banker for terrorists. And MI6 want Bond to beat him, so that Le Chiffre, because Le Chiffre is betting his client's money, Le Chiffre's got nowhere to go and he has to turn himself into MI6, essentially.
Essentially, they have added an entire plot for the first hour of the film, which involves how he loses his money, which is almost like a Bond film in its own right. Somehow pulls off everything where you don't mind that it's over 2 hours long. It tells this huge story, and you actually care about Bond, you kind of know Bond a bit more, you care about the romance, you care about his relationship with other people, you care about the villain. It's what they do in 2 hours and 20 minutes or whatever the fuck it is. I think they do it really well, where they actually have fully formed characters. Oh, it's great. I love it.
Vodka Martini.
Shaken or stirred?
Do I look like I give a damn?
Start with Craig, I guess, because this is Daniel Craig's first Bond film. You remember when he was announced? So, like, what was he coming off the back of?
He was on the back of a boat wearing a life jacket.
He was, yeah.
And it looked lame.
He was announced. I remember there was a huge backlash.
Mm-hmm.
I seem to recall a large amount of the backlash was basically because his hair wasn't dark enough.
But is the movie world ready for the first blonde Bond?
One newspaper, the Daily Star, the Daily Mail, one of them said James Bland. I think he silenced his critics so quickly with his first film.
He is fantastic.
It might be the single best performance of Bond in one movie. That Craig's thing is not about making love. Craig is a murderer.
He's a killer. But also, he is not an invulnerable man.
No, he's not.
He is not a Superman, and perhaps for the first time you feel like he really is a man.
Mm-hmm.
And he wears every single fucking punch that he gets, and
Every single fight leads to both or anyone involved being cut and beaten. Daniel Craig is constantly covered in cuts, and there's a wonderful shot of him like dabbing a wound on his head and the blood and the water gushing down.
and that's most obvious in the staircase fight, because it's a fight where we're so far away from the kind of, you know, Roger Moore and, you know, this is a guy who's desperately trying to stay out the fucking way of a machete. When he kills the guy at the end, you say it's the longest fucking, it takes him forever, it's horrible. You know, he looks like an absolute monster. He's huge. This is, I think, the biggest it's the physically the most intimidating Bond. And the moment that you see him in his half-naked glory, in the, you know, it's a fantastic moment. He comes out of the sea, and it's this, you know, reference to Ursula Andress coming out of the sea and Dr. No, but it's flipped because for the first time it's Bond coming out of the sea. But not only is it Bond coming out of the sea, he looks like a fucking dinosaur. He's enormous. His shoulders are huge. He's got these pecs. He looks so impressive. Even the villain at the end of the film has to go, fucking hell, you're looking trim, mate.
Wow. You've taken good care of your buddy.
Aside from Craig, the rest of the cast is quite stellar. I think, rewatching it this time, Mads Mikkelsen might give the best villain performance in any of them. Watching him this, because I love, there's been so many great Bond villains that are outlandish and stuff. This is the first guy that I felt was a three-dimensional character, but his fear about Spectre, Quantum, whatever you want to call them, he sets them up better than they are revealed.
Well, it's almost like as if you give depth to your two main characters in a film that you'll actually give a shit about what happens.
Yeah. And I think you need to, because it isn't just James Bond punching him. They play cards. It's all about their interaction with each other. It's so much more interesting.
Well, I'm sorry. That last hand nearly killed me.
And then we get our best Bond girl, again, up there with Diana Rigg. There's very few female characters in these movies who actually have characters. And Vesper has a character, and they have interactions with each other that feel like actual conversations, other than going, I want to suck your cock, how big are your balls, to each other.
Pretty fucking big after Le Chiffre's finished with them.
Eva Green, arguably one of one of the top Bond women.
Inarguably,
not even Bond women, just a character in a Bond film.
So as charming as you are, Mr. Bond, I will be keeping my eye on our government's money and off your perfectly formed house. Beautiful.
Martin Campbell comes back to do his second debut Bond, but GoldenEye, he knocks it out of the park for Brosnan. I think he does an even better job for Craig.
Compliment you can give to Martin Campbell with these films is he made the right Bond film at the right time.
Your file shows no kills, and it takes 2.
In that pre-credit sequence, you get to a kind of a level of nasty violence that you've never seen previously in a Bond film. That whole opening is just a total statement of intent. It's him earning his 00 status. The fight scene, which is so nasty, and he struggles to dispatch this guy in a way that you've never seen Bond ever do.
Fight in a toilet, so it's our second Bond in a row where he's introduced in a toilet. He murders a man, which is very Fleming, in his office. He shoots him, and as the guy flies behind the desk, it shows a quick shot of the picture of him and his family.
Made you feel it, did he? Well, you needn't worry. The second is... Yes. Considerably.
It's the first of a few films in a row where they do the different take on the gun barrel opening. I think this is the best one.
It is the best one.
Different but familiar. And at the time, I remember watching it in the cinema and oh, and you sat up straight in the cinema and I tell you what, this is going to be okay, isn't it?
And it was. And then it leads into the opening credits, and the thing isn't boobs and fannies. It's all of a sudden just James Bond murdering people. And again, it's this intention that James Bond, we're in a new James Bond, and he is an assassin. He's just killed 2 people, and the opening credits is just murder, 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 fight, fight, murder, murder, murder,
bit of gambling,
murder, 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 murder. Which means that in the second half, when Vesper's introduced, I think it isn't that he's this Lothario, love-making guy. He falls in love with someone, and he's a murderer, and it's a different. And he quits his job because he's fallen in love with someone. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's not that he's just a fucking pervert.
I just want you to know that if all there was left of you was your smile and your little finger, you'd still be more of a man than anyone I've ever met.
That's because you know what I can do with my little finger.
One thing watching it this time was realising how long ago 2006 was. 2 things marked it. The phones. The phones were beep, beep, boop, boop, like just words, these little phones. You go, fucking hell, that's a long time ago. And Daniel Craig's hair. He looks like a competitor on a reality TV show. Kitchen, reality TV show or Big Brother.
Kitchen murders.
And then more so the man who is a worse spy. The bumbling, their hair. You go, how long ago was 2006?
Well. 3 measures of Gordon's, 1 of vodka, half a measure of quinoa lily, shake it over rice, and then add a thin slice of lemon peel.
My friend, bring me one as well. Keep the fruit.
Because it'll be so much nicer without the lemon peel. Point that we should make is it's poker in this film. It's not poker in the book. I think this film does a really good job of, without glorifying gambling, does a really good job of fetishizing the act of playing cards.
Yes, it does.
And I don't have any real interest in it. But you watch this film, they shoot the card scenes. Without being too much, there's something about the snap of the cards and the table and the clean lines of the gambling scenes that fetishizes playing cards. And the noise, the tactile noise of the chips as well, really makes these games of cards look so intriguing, tantalizing, mysterious.
Best car crashes ever?
Maybe but it's in. Can you think of a better car crash than that? It's astonishing. It's one shot. I think it didn't. It was in the Guinness Book of Records for the amount of times a car flipped.
It's great, but then when you see how much he's drunk the night that night, you go, it's not mad.
Frantically sounding the horn, but not applying the brake at all. No! I can't stop. You have to.
And then you get the rope torture sequence. This is so different, and it's such a good sequence.
There's something so basic, so down to earth about the fact that it's just a man twatting him very, very hard in the bollocks with a rope. No! There's a couple of shots where there's a look of genuine terror on Bond's face there that you've never seen before in a Bond film. This is the first time you think that Bond may crack, but it's also the reaction of that's a reaction of a person.
Yeah, a real person. Yeah.
That you've never had before. You've had Bond again with a laser about to cut him in half from his cock to his head, dragged across a coral reef, or and this is the time you really feel like this is a man panicking, and he still pulls himself together enough to kind of be the Bond of fuck you. Mm-hmm. But you do feel that for the first time that's a facade, and underneath that is a real genuine man who is being tortured and is terrified and realizes everything is going to shit.
Ah! Yeah! Ah! Ah! Yes! Yes! Yes!
The film signs off in a really exciting way.
Hello?
Mr. White, we need to talk.
Who is this?
We haven't had the Bond theme, and then right at the end,
The name's Bond. James Bond.
that's the sense of that's the moment when, okay, now it's Bond.
Yeah.
Now you've had a film of this guy finding his feet, becoming the Bond, proto-Bond, growing into the role of Bond as we knew it, and now right at the end, he's accepting that responsibility. He's become the Bond. It begins, that fight scene in the toilet with him desperately, barely killing a man.
He's not Bond.
And it begins with a statement, and then it ends with him in this three-piece suit with this machine gun saying the line, and it begins with a statement and it ends with a statement. And to be honest, 2 and a bit hours in the middle, it's a hell of a watch. I think it's up there with the best of them. It really is.
I agree.
Shame they're dead.
So